So this week we are covering Orgazmo, which was Gary's pick. It's a 1990s...
Better than Bones.
Well, that's true. It's a 1997 film by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who are obviously most notable for South Park.
Team America.
Basketball.
Cannibal a Musical.
Book of Mormon as well.
Book of Mormon.
The review, this is the funny thing.
That's kind of all they've done.
Yeah, but I mean, South Park obviously being their greatest kind of legacy overall. But Roger Ebert said, which is one of...
He never likes anything, does he?
No, it was quite the opposite. There would be certain films that, like, for example, he didn't mind the Transformers films, but there were other films that were kind of, half decent that he just hated for some reason. So in his, which we've discussed before, his weird 4-star rating system, he gave half a star to Orgazmo, and he called the film callow, gauche, obvious, and awkward, and designed to appeal to those with similar qualities.
Was he referring to the film or us? Yeah.
He was referring to us, the audience. Yeah. So, what did you make? It's only an hour and a bit.
I watched
an hour and
it.
a half.
I watched it as a teen and thought it was amazing, hilarious, the best thing since sliced bread. Probably because there's boobs in it as well, and I was young.
Was there any? What's the boob ratio? I don't think
there isn't any like naked ones.
No, that's what I mean. No,
but it's full of porn stars. So I was a teenager. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just look.
I thought there was only one actual credited porn star on it.
Oh, I don't know.
From I looked at the IMDb.
There wasn't Chasey Lane in it.
Chasey Lane, that's it. Yeah.
But obviously I watched this last week in prep for the show, and I've not watched it since I was a teenager. I didn't know what to expect, and I realised that I didn't even remember the bloody ending of the film.
Oh,
from
wow,
originally
okay.
watching it, so it was kind of like I only remembered the first half hour.
In terms of myself watching it, was the same thing. I watched it for the second time, but how I first discovered it was I was reading back in the heyday of Cracked and Cracked articles. I used to love their film section because they were always talking about films at that point in time I'd not heard of. So, for example, that was when I first came across Tommy Wiseau in The Room and things like that. And
I did not hit her. I did not.
That one a week. So it was from an article talking about just kind of cult films in general, or films that were deemed controversial during the time of release. So yeah, this was deemed controversial only because of the Roger Ebert criticism and everything like that. So yeah, I know. I did enjoy it the second time around. I've also seen Basketball fairly recently as well, and they're both equally on par.
I think Basketball has aged better, and I've watched Basketball loads. But that wasn't directed by them as well. That wasn't even written by them. It was just in it.
Oh, okay.
Produced it. I think they produced it.
The thing that obviously is a theme with Trey Parker is, and Matt Stone, but Trey Parker predominantly, is the theme of Mormonism, because that obviously appears in Orgazmo, and they've got the award-winning Broadway show called Book of Mormon. And I was kind of curious, so I did a bit of research.
Is he in fact a Mormon?
No, that's the thing. I thought that he grew up as a Mormon, and his sort of style of comedy is a kind of a backlash to what he had to grow up in a very conservative environment. But no, both Trey Parker and Matt Stone were brought up in a non-Christian, agnostic environment, so none of them followed any established kind of religions or anything, but just simply fascinated by the Mormon church. And I think it was Trey Parker who said that it's the fact that if there was any religion out there that was to suddenly dominate, civilization and society in the world, that'd probably be the best one to have, because of just the fact that Mormons are just really friendly, overly friendly kind of people. And, there could be worse things in the world than having a religion which is based around being nice.
You could be Medwin.
Well, I might form my own religion. You never know.
The Medwinites.
Based on our success of the podcast, I'll make my own religion. You heard it here first. I'll be like that Momo thing that's floating around. The other little bit of interesting trivia as well is that Choda boy, Choda is colloquial for fuck in many languages, most notably in Hindi, and Choda boy literally just translates as fuck boy. So I don't know if you...
I was aware.
You were aware?
I was aware.
The other brilliant thing about the film is definitely the song, the man song. That...
Now you're a man.
A man. I like the way if we sing too much of it, we have to pay rights to Trey Parker.
Oh, would it be fair usage?
Yeah, probably would be fair usage, actually.
Sing it again.
What was your favourite quote from the film? I've got mine. I actually wrote it down because I just thought it was quite good.
Don't mean to sound queer or nothing. I just thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
The one of the bits I wrote down was, nothing sadder than a sad Japanese man. That's the scene where the sushi owner is doing karaoke by himself for some reason.
It was weird, that, because he thought he was like a gangster, didn't he? Like a black gangster. And
I think he was desperately trying to make a themed sushi restaurant. But not only that, he also believed himself to be black as well. So at one point he does actually say, he didn't say, is it because I'm black? I think he says something like, why are you beating up a black man?
Something along those lines.
Yeah. What was your favourite scene? So that was my favourite quote. What was your favourite scene?
Oh, probably when they're walking around the street with the Orgazmatron and they're pointing it at random people so they have orgasms on the street.
I'm surprised you said that, because as you're a dog owner, I thought the scene, which I put down as my favourite, was the Choda dog.
That was quite funny.
There's
a lot of funny scenes though. Scenes that you wouldn't get away with now in 2000.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, this is in the 90s where you could get rid of it. I wouldn't write a joke like that now because it probably wouldn't be funny.
No, I think it's unfortunate that obviously there's been a cult. As I remember, like growing up as well, where people would say words like, "Oh, this is gay," as in, i.e., this isn't very good, or this isn't,
It was nothing to do with sexuality.
No, and also the kind of humor about being gay, like the whole, I ain't queer or nothing sort of thing. It's that type of humor just wouldn't be able to exist currently. That's not to say that it's not funny in its current form, because the fact that it's something that...
I mean, this is not to say that it should still be around, but it's had its place and it's still funny to look back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people have made that kind of remarks about, One Flew to Kill a Mockingbird. That's a film that uses a lot of... racial kind of language and stuff, but it is a classic work of literature, and you can't necessarily censor things that weren't aware of that don't conform to the social rules of today, if you know what I mean, because it fundamentally is just a piece of entertainment, whether it be a film, book. But I mean, that's a whole other conversation talking about censorship. The other thing I thought, which I want to get your opinion on, Gary, is that the sushi restaurant looked awful, but I wasn't quite sure if that was the point.
I think maybe it was just budget constraints. I don't think they knew either way whether they wanted it to look good or not.
It just looked like, so I wouldn't want to eat there. It just looked, it looked grim.
I wouldn't want to, no, it did look grim. Like your face.
But it just also, I got the impression that sushi had been laying out there for quite some time as well. I don't know. I got the impression that it wasn't a night.
Probably had been laying out there for a long time.
In the actual, but in the universe of the thing, did you?
No, it did look a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
it was probably a real place, but it probably wasn't a sushi restaurant.
No, it could have been a cake shop or something. Yeah. It looked more like a bakery than it did.
A bakery with a karaoke corner.
I think they must have just added. Was that even part of the same set, or was it cuts to that corner?
I couldn't tell.
No, it was hard to kind of gauge, really. So, Gareth, this is your pick. I want some more Jen from you, more info. Your thoughts.
It was a film. It was over an hour long. It was a comedy.
We don't want stats.
I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as when I was a kid growing up. It's not aged that well because it's old.
Yeah.
The comedy doesn't age as well as something like, say, a horror film.
No, but would you say
Or your face.
would you say it's better than other similar gross out? Like, for example, Farley Brothers, Kevin Smith, they've all created gross out.
Oh, the thing is,
kind
it's
of
like
humor.
Kevin Smith, Clerks, Chasing Amy, Mallrats, all better films.
I was more thinking along the lines of, would you say that Orgazmo is better than Jay and Silent Bob?
No.
No, okay. What about? Would you say it's better than the early Judd Apatow?
No.
Orgazmo isn't as good as that. Okay, and then finally, probably like I don't know what other. It's not as good as Dumb and Dumber, obviously. No.
Oh, there's something about Mary. No, it's not as good as any of them. It's a time capsule. It's not a great film, but it's worth a watch. It's funny.
Would you say
you can watch it once and probably never think about it ever again?
Is it a good cult film, or do you say it's just an alright, passable cult film?
It's an alright, passable cult film with moments of greatness.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But it's only moments of greatness. It's not greatness for the full running time. That's what stops it from standing out forever and ever and ever. Although someone else out there could still have the same sense of humour as he did as a teenager, as an adult, and could still probably appreciate it exactly the same.
Yeah, I think also it's got a nostalgia quality.
The nostalgia probably gets you through it a lot.
Yeah, and also not just that, but a nostalgia quality on the basis that if you go back to rewatching films that you didn't see when you were growing up, I think you won't be disappointed that if you remember sort of gross out 90s humour and it was a film that you missed out on and you didn't see, then I definitely think you'll enjoy it. Because I definitely did watching it first time around. Second time around, it just seemed a little bit, I think being a little that bit older just seemed a bit more kind of predictable, some of the jokes. But guys leaving me hanging here.
I suppose in hindsight it's not really that funny.
Okay. Show the dog I liked.
Show the dog, yeah. Show the boy.
I prefer the dog more than the
I'm okay with that. No, it's not necessarily funny. It's nostalgic. Reminds me of a better time in life.
But would you agree with what I was just mentioning there? Was that if you grew up in had nostalgia?
Yeah, if you remember the 90s.
Remember the 90s, but it was a film that you didn't actually ever see and you still haven't seen. Well, I mean, you must have seen it because we're doing a spoiler review of it.
I suppose it depends.
But for those who've only just recently maybe seen an episode of Bones and thought, I can take or miss. Take or miss?
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it with Bones. What have they got?
I would definitely leave Bones.
What have they got for next week? Then we told them on our Instagram, Video Plaza Podcast Instagram, and
do we have an Instagram and a Twitter and a YouTube
and a YouTube? And they saw it on that and thought, you know what? So that I'm in check, ready for episode 8, I'm going to watch this film. And you know what? They were right. Now, after the fact, that it is great if you haven't seen it before but grew up in the 90s.
Yeah, I'd like to know what someone would think if they hadn't seen it in the 90s growing up.
And if someone wanted to go about doing that, let's say over email, for example, how would they...
I think the email address is videoplazapodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, that would be...
But also we will answer messages on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
And if you are looking
at Smoke Signal, we don't care.
And if you are looking at those YouTube videos, like most YouTubers say, guys, like and subscribe.
But yeah, in
he's having a stroke.
What's the word?
I don't know, you're going to give me some clues.
In reference to Orgazmo,
yeah,
I did enjoy watching it again after all these years.
You come back to life.
Yeah, sorry. I did enjoy watching it again after all these years. It has aged. It is still funny in parts. It does, like I say, have moments of greatness. If you're a big Matt Stone and Trey Parker fan...
Also, I don't think they could have got away with that fat woman joke this time around.
No, but that was funny.
But that was fun. I just loved the voice. Oh, they did actually. That was the other bit of trivia that I might as well.
Oh, where they
did
did the Cartman voice.
You did, and that the woman that they actually were going to cast a famous
Porn star, wasn't it?
fat lady porn star.
Yeah, wasn't she just like
called,
just a stripper or something? Like,
well, her name was Nick, the stripper name or porn star.
Did she
name
have a heart attack before?
No, it was called Earthquake.
Right.
But she had conflicting kind of plans. Scheduling difficulties. Yes.
In other words, she didn't want to have people take the piss out of her.
Maybe, but the thing is, if your whole
having a cock in one hand.
If your whole stick is like having the piss taken out of you, then you can imagine she was fairly honest in saying, "Hey, I've got another film similar to this."
What would you give Orgazmo out of 4?
Oh, well, I mean,
let's give it out of 5.
Did we?
What shall we like? We need like. Should we have like five of like video cassettes out of 5?
Hang on, but are we doing this differently on the podcast than we did on the YouTube? Because on the YouTube, we did it out of 10.
All right, we'll do it out of 10. How many video cassettes out of 10 would you give this?
Are we talking about really nice like shell cases?
No, video cassettes instead of a star.
I know, but what kind are you going to describe?
I don't know.
What kind of condition of these video?
You overcomplicating this, Medwin. Just a standard VHS.
Not the really thick ones that can store 2 VHSs in it.
No.
I would give it 6. 6 out of 10.
6.5 VHSs out of 10.
I was going to go for 6.5. I wasn't quite sure if half of VHS would count.
But yeah, 6.5 VHSs. Okay, so that is another show done for the week, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So remember to add us on Instagram.
And as well is if you can, a lot of people ask this who are podcasters, leave us a review. If you are using Apple Podcast app or I was going to say Outcast, but it's not called Outcast. It is called something similar. But anyway, all of the
Beyondcast.
There's Beyondcast and there's Overcast. That's it, Overcast. Yeah. If you are obviously listening to us using any of those apps, then leave us a little review.
Just don't review this one because I've been a little bit sleepy because I've not been sleeping well this week.
I think it allows you just to review the whole show as a whole, not per episode.
Well, yeah, just remember Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter. I like that. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the podcasting platforms that we're on, and
we're in your front garden now watching you.
Hashtag Video Plaza. No, they're on their way to work. How they watching?
Hashtag friend of the show, the listener.
Yes. And on that note, thank you very much for listening.
Goodbye from me. And goodbye from you.
And goodbye from me.